I'm here at Network Virtualization Europe with Derek and Cahill. Derek, Cahill, can you tell me a little bit more about OpenMind Networks?
Yes, we're a mobile messaging platform vendor. We provide a full set of messaging products that support SMS, MMS, RCS, USSD, and SMS over LTE services for mobile operators, interconnect carriers, and social media providers. We have 75 customers around the world. We were founded back in 2003, headquartered in Dublin in Ireland, and every day our platform is responsible for the safe delivery of over 2 billion messages around the world.
OpenMind does SMS. What are you doing at a network function virtualization conference?
Well, in spite of many predictions to the contrary, SMS is very much alive. And what's happening right now is that many businesses are using SMS as a really important communications channel to interact with their consumers. And this type of traffic is known as application-to-person messaging traffic. It's growing in terms of volume and for operator revenues worldwide. And not only is this A2P traffic growing, what we're seeing is the continued use of person-to-person messaging. So billions of messages are still exchanged between people around the world because SMS is still the only truly global messaging platform that's out there. All right. So because messaging is still so important, both as a revenue source for operators and also as a really vital service for the consumers, operators will have to support messaging into the future. And because they have to support into the future, that means supporting their future network platform, which is NFV.
Okay, and how have you adapted your technology to incorporate network function virtualization?
So over the last number of years, we've seen really transformation within the mobile operator space. So with this changing environment in the operator space, we've also had to adapt our product. And that really means looking at the application that we delivered SMS messaging on and seeing how we could make it a more cloud-native type of application. And that means decomposing it into individual kind of microservices that are easily scalable and suit with the type of network that network function virtualization enables. So you have to look at how your application integrates towards the management layer then as well to make ease of deployment and ease of upgrades and ease of testing. So there's a whole architectural change that we've implemented around our product, which is called Traffic Control 6000, and which we've deployed now into many networks.
Okay, that's great, but can you break down into small buckets what the key components of benefit is to a telco?
Yeah, so there are three key benefits that the operator gets with Traffic Control 6000. So the first one is reducing costs. So what we mean by reducing costs is looking at the total life cycle of a product in an operator environment. Typically, a project would have taken months to plan and then months to execute and deploy and test. With Traffic Control 6000, we've automated the whole process of deploying that system. We've automated the process of upgrading that platform with zero downtime. And also we've built a whole test suite around Traffic Control 6000, which is automated and allows an operator to remove all the manual steps involved in deploying that platform and testing it and upgrading it. So there's huge cost savings there from the operator point of view. The second one is manageability. So the ease of manageability of a cloud application really is about an operator's operations team being able to go to a GUI, track what's happening within a cluster, because now you've got a dispersed cluster, a decomposed application. So managing that in an easy way, scaling that platform either manually or tracking the auto-scaling capabilities, fault management and element management basically within the NFV environment. That's all a key functionality that needs to be there. So there really is a lot of manageability benefits the operator gets. And lastly is about fueling innovation. So with Traffic Control 6000, we have a product that is updated every day on our customer site. We push updates to our platform, and now the customer has the latest software from OpenMind Networks with the latest capabilities and the latest features. So any day they can basically decide to implement a new feature with zero downtime.
Right.
And they can decide to implement a new feature and launch that out to their customer services. So this is going to be a huge impact in terms of, as we look for messaging in the future, in terms of RCS, as RCS develops as a service, but also if we look at IoT services, which SMS is a bearer for. So enterprises will be looking for new features, and with Traffic Control 6000, we can quickly roll those out and put them into a live network. So the key things really are reduce costs, manageability, and future innovation.
You mentioned live networks. Have you got any live customer networks that are using these capabilities?
Yes, yeah, OpenMind has been very successful because of the effort we've put into our Traffic Control 6000 architecture. We have 22 projects with various operators. This is worldwide. We've deployments ongoing in Asia Pacific, in Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and North Africa. So 22 projects in all, and we have live customers who have actually done the step of implementing traffic control, and they actually have the zero downtime upgrades, the continuous delivery of software, and our automated test suite. So we've actually validated this whole new process and methodology in live networks.
We've been hearing from inside the conference today a lot of telcos taking different stages, different approaches to their journey through NFV, transitioning their networks. Would you say that messaging is a good place for them to start?
Yeah, messaging is a perfect place to start. I mean, obviously saying that as a messaging vendor, but what we've found discussing with our customers is that they've started their NFV projects and now they're looking to validate how applications can be deployed and integrated to third-party applications. So OpenMind is a vast provider. We have a separate product to the NFVI. We need to integrate to an NFVI, be that from Ericsson, ZTE, or Huawei, or any type of major provider of NFV environment. This messaging platform from OpenMind is a third-party application that can be easily integrated. Also, messaging lends itself to some of the ideology around NFV. Messaging is really a system that spikes in terms of usage around holiday periods, and then day-to-day usage decreases as well. So you've got the need to scale a platform to meet those peak demands and then scale back down to meet the day-to-day demands. So Traffic Control 6000 enables that type of auto-scaling capability. And for an operator, it's a huge cost saving not to have so much hardware dedicated for a platform that needs to run all the time. Instead, they run a minimum SMSC, for example, on a day-to-day basis, and then at Christmas or New Year's, they automatically scale that out, meet the peak demand, and then go back again. So it's a perfect service for NFV and to prove the use cases of NFV.
Okay, we can't go an inch without hearing about artificial intelligence and big data, and clearly your platform is using virtualized network functions. How are you incorporating that into your offering to provide additional value to telcos?
So what we've discovered is that AI, particularly machine learning and neural networks, is actually really good at distinguishing between messages sent by applications or businesses and person-to-person messages exchanged between subscribers. And this is significant because for many years now, operators have been trying to separate application traffic from person-to-person traffic on their network. And they need to do this because person-to-person traffic isn't charged for individually anymore because messaging is bundled as a basic service. But senders of application traffic are charged a termination fee for every message that they send. So because of this, application messaging senders have been trying to work around operator controls, charging mechanisms in this area, and they've been attempting to masquerade their application traffic as person-to-person traffic. This is known in the industry as grey routes fraud, and is actually a major source of revenue leakage to operators. So with artificial intelligence and neural nets, we've launched a new service called Smart Control, and this uses this technology to properly distinguish between application traffic and person-to-person traffic. Right. So now we're in a position where we can properly deal with grey routes fraud. And it's not just grey routes, which is typically traffic coming from international signaling links. It means application traffic sent on any network, any interface in the network where it shouldn't be. So for example, SIM boxes. So with this technology, we can detect all sorts of A2P traffic regardless of where it comes from. So we can prevent this major revenue leakage for the operators. And it's not just about revenue leakage either. We can also help operators grow their revenues. There's different types of services using A2P traffic. So we have the big internet companies sending 2FA password resets via SMS. It's heavily used by banks and other financial institutions. And it's also used by other kind of lower value transactions such as bulk advertising, local bulk advertising. So these are all completely different services. So what operators are starting to do now is attempting to provide different levels of service for different use cases of application SMS at different charging points. Okay, so they can provide high value, high service to the banks and the big utilities, and at a lower cost they can provide a more basic level of service for bulk advertising. And Smart Control will enable them to do that.
We've heard for the longest time that telcos and messaging, the ecosystem looks poor for them. Paint us a picture of what you think the future looks like for messaging in an OpCo environment.
Yes, so I mean, the future is bright for messaging. I mean, as you said, there has been some reports of the decline in SMS messaging, but it depends on the different markets that you go to. But primarily that's been just at the P2P space, the person-to-person communication. Primarily because it hasn't, let's say, evolved in the last 25 years. SMS is still just sending text messages. But really the future for messaging is looking at the application to person, as Carl was mentioned, the business to consumer messaging services. That's where the future revenues are, and that's where we'll see a lot more development with SMS messaging. And for operators, it's about changing the perception of what they offer. So in the past they offered features and services. Tomorrow it's going to be consumer experience. We've all moved towards using OTT applications, and these OTT providers provide an experience for the end user. So for a mobile operator, they need to change that mindset and start looking at services that enable that type of customer interaction and customer experience. And this is where Rich Communication Service comes out. It enables that one-to-one chat and group chat and file sharing in a very easy way. So it improves the customer experience. And businesses are going to want to tap into that. So for businesses, really, RCS will enable a rich communication channel for them. And they'll pay a lot more money then for that type of communication channel to the end user. On top of that, we have IoT applications that use SMS. So we do expect, as we move towards 5G and the Internet of Things becomes a more real proposition in the network, that those network devices will be using SMS as one of the means of communication. So we do expect SMS traffic to increase in the coming years around that. So there's a lot of applications out there that are still using SMS, so the future is very bright.
Are there any potential other applications that your platform can offer to telcos outside of the messaging environment?
Operators everywhere are going through a digital transformation process that sees them moving from being communication service providers to digital service providers. And what that means is it's not just about providing basic communications anymore, it's about providing a full suite of digital services, particularly to enterprise customers. Okay. The mobile network is a repository of a vast amount of really valuable information about mobile subscribers. So the network knows your location, it knows what kind of network you're attached to, it knows what kind of devices that you're using. It can even validate that a mobile number actually exists and belongs to a real person. And this type of information is very, very valuable to enterprises. And they are attempting to get this information right now. So there's a kind of a black market that exists already with businesses attempting to get this data through HLR lookup websites and other dubious means.
Right.
So I think it's very important that operators take control of this market, particularly with GDPR and privacy concerns, and make sure that it's properly regulated. So what we've done is we've extended the APIs on our platform to include this mobile subscriber intelligence capability to provide this access in an authorized way to the valuable information that enterprises need. And all the analysts out there are predicting that APIs and the network as a platform, that's where operators are really going to exploit the capabilities of digital service, and that's where the digital dividend will really be exploited for mobile operators in the future.
I've been talking to a number of organizations on the fringe of telecommunications, and quite frankly, if you're talking to a Deutsche Bank or a British Airways and you're offering them messaging services to either authenticate a customer or to advertise, they don't really care which telco their customer's with. In fact, their customer will be with multiple telcos. Is that going to be a continual problem? Is there a need for collaboration, or does your platform overcome that?
What we do is we can provide a single access point for the enterprise, or for the Deutsche Bank or the airlines. And operators have an existing interconnect mechanism anyway for terminating traffic with each other's network. Okay, so it's just about extending that interconnect capability that's there to include this type of richer application traffic.
Right.
And what we can also do then is we can provide, deliver over different messaging channels. So because we support all the different messaging channels, so if Deutsche Bank or British Airways wants to send a message via RCS as a preference, we can do that if the subscriber is connected to an RCS network. But if they're not on RCS, we can fall back to SMS. So we can provide that kind of seamless experience for both the enterprise and the consumer, where it's needed.
And the telcos win.
And the telcos win. The telcos benefit from that because, and we do see the telcos will start competing for this type of enterprise business. So it's not just about providing capability, communications capabilities anymore. It's providing this type of mobile engagement services between enterprise and consumers, and that's a new area, a new area of competition for the operators, because they're now starting to compete to provide the best level of mobile engagement, connectivity, and reach to enterprises, so that the information that the enterprise wants to get to the consumer is delivered in the optimum way.
Cathal, Derek, thank you so much for your time. It's been really fascinating. Enjoy the rest of the event.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.